Hello guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a soft-spoken bookshelf tour. I have one big Billy bookshelf. Okay, ignore the mess on my desk. I have one big Billy bookshelf, and then I have a serving card with books on the other side of my room. So this is it. We have a bunch of books packed in here. So yeah, let's get started. So first of all, I'm going to talk about how I have my bookshelves organized. In the big bookshelf, I have sci-fi dystopian books up there. Then we have fantasy, more fantasy, and even more fantasy. And then down here, we have young adult coming of age books over here, and then here we have young adult thrillers and mysteries. And down here, I recently reorganized this. So there's a lot of space down there now. And here we have some random books that I'm going to talk about once we're down here. And some other stuff that isn't exactly books, but didn't know where else to put. So this is it. And in my serving card, I mainly have romance and then also some books that didn't fit into any other genre. I have two little disclaimers in the beginning. One is I'm filming this with my phone because I had some difficulties with my camera, so the quality might suck a little, but I guess that's okay. It's a little bit more lo-fi than and two is I have very shaky hands. So if you feel like you're in the middle of an earthquake, it's just my hands. Yeah, they shake really badly. So that being said, we're gonna start up here with the sci-fi books. So first of all, I already tapped on this, is a little candle, or actually a pretty big one, that makes like fire crackling sounds, which I think is really cool. Got it for Christmas. And then we have the books here. So let's start. The first book here is Illuminate by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff, and I think it looks so cool. I have not read this yet, but it looks really, really cool. I think the main reason why I haven't read this yet is because the third book, I don't think it got translated into German. So yeah, that's kind of difficult. Up here we have Red Rising by Pierce Brown, which I just got for Christmas. Oops. Then we have Legend by Mary Lou, the first book in the trilogy. Next to it is Project Jane by Lunette Noni. I think the original title is Whisper. Yeah, the cover is kind of scary to be honest, but okay. Then we have Game Changer by Neil Shusterman. Have not read this yet, but I have some other Neil Shusterman books later on. Next, I have my Marie Grashoff collection, which is just 4 books, but I will definitely expand that in the future. So we have Der dunkle Schwarm, which I guess you could translate to The Dark Swarm. No, okay, I can't get this back in here with one hand. And then I have Neon Birds, Cyber Trips, and Beta Hearts. So the Neon Birds trilogy. And I absolutely loved these books. They are so good. They are like a cyberpunk sci-fi. And oh my god, did I love them. They were so good. Like the world building, the characters, everything was just so good. And I absolutely adore these. Next, we have my other 2 Neil Shusterman books. I have the first book in the Scythe trilogy, I think. I'm not sure. The first book in the series, and then next to it is Dry, which he wrote with his son Jared Shusterman. And I have read this book, and it was so good. I absolutely love this book. It's basically about like California being cut off of water. They don't have water anymore. And everybody freaks out, obviously, if you don't have water anymore, and it's basically about a few different perspectives of people trying to get water and working together or against each other. These kind of things. It's really, really good. Next up we have After the Fire by Will Hill, which is about a girl escaping, or not escaping, being saved from a cult. And it's basically before and after this happened. It's told in 2 timelines, and this was very disturbing, but also very, very good. So I would recommend it, but I would also recommend that you check out trigger warnings before you read this book. Next we have some unread books. This is The Loop by Ben Oliver. This is The Arena by Haley Barker. And I think it was published under the title of Showstopper. Next up we have Chaos, I don't know, by Lynn Arena. And I DNF'd this book. It was first published on Wattpad, and I don't want to be mean, but there are some really great books on Wattpad, but this one, you can definitely feel that it was on Wattpad before it was out in the real publishing world, and it's, yeah, it was not great. I think I made it like halfway through before I stopped reading this. I hated it. It was so slow and boring for some reason. I hated the main character. Like, she was so the typical main, like, pygmy character. It was horrible, and I hated the love interest. It was just not for me. Then we have books that I actually really love, and that's the Ophelia Scale trilogy by Lena Kifa, and these books are so good. It is, to this day, one of my favorite series of all time. It's action stacked. We have great characters, different kind of characters, weird plot twists, but she also likes to do cliffhangers at the end of her books, so yeah, that was traumatizing, but these books were so great. And the last book we have here is Time Shifters by Davida Marocinato. By the way, I am bad at pronouncing names, so if I butchered that or any other name, I'm sorry. But yeah, this is a book I also got for Christmas. The font is really big actually, so I'm hoping that this is a book that you can get through easily, and that's gonna be a lot of fun. Now let's move on to the first fantasy shelf. And you're overall, not just in this shelf, but in many shelves, gonna see a lot of like books that were popular on TikTok, and I got them because of TikTok, and most of them, or pretty much everyone, is unread, so please don't judge me, but I'm trying not to do that anymore, and I did a pretty good job at it. Okay, so this is the Atlas 6 by Ari Blake. I've not read it yet, but honestly, it's beautiful. And then over here we have the Night Trilogy by Lena Kifa. And the story behind this one is I read the first few chapters in the first book, and then I got the other 2 books because I thought, oh, I like this. I like the first few chapters. This is going to be good. And I, as I just told you, love Ophelia Scale by her. So I just thought, okay, this is like a safe bet, but it wasn't. I thought this was so repetitive and boring that I DNF'd it. I made it pretty far through, but every time I read it, I was like, just feeling bad, and every time I thought about it, I was like, oh my god, I don't want to read this. I do think I'm gonna give it another try in the future, but right now, I just cannot even look at these books for too long, because I'm so disappointed. Maybe it was because I had such high hopes for this book because of Ophelia's Scale, but honestly, I thought Ophelia's Scale was so much more like action-packed and everything, and this is just repetitive to me and boring. But next to it, we have a book I actually enjoyed. This is Fallen Academy Year 1 and Year 2 by Leah Stone, and the German titles are Celestial City, A Akademie der Engel. Akademie der Engel. Ja, eins. Ja, zwei. So I read this book last summer and I loved it. It was so much fun. It was so entertaining. Objectively, I know this is not the best book I ever read. The characters were kind of immature at some points in the story. The world building, the characters in general, the writing style, I objectively know that was not the best. But honestly, it was so entertaining. I had so much fun that I gave this 5 stars anyway because it was so good. And then like a few days after I finished the first book, I bought this, and it was last summer, and I just have not read it for some reason. Don't really know why, but I want to read it quite soon. Then we have Midnight Chronicles, book 1 and book 2 by Bianca Iusivoni and Laura Kneider. And honestly, I love that they put numbers on the books because I hate nothing more than not knowing which book in the series I'm currently holding in my hands. Especially if you have not read the books, it can just be so confusing, so I really love this. Next to it, we have Heartless. Der Kuss der Dieben. Der Kuss der Dieben. Der Kuss der Dieben. By Sarah Wolf, and this was originally published under the name Bring Me Their Hearts. So I think Sarah Wolf is actually German, but she published her books in English and then she published them in German. I think that's the way that she did it. Then we have The Age of Darkness by Katie Rose Poole. It looks stunning. This is Six Crimson Cranes by Elizabeth Lim, which I have not read, and I, for some reason, own 2 other books by her. So, Ein Kleid aus Seide und Stern, Kleid aus Seide und Stern, and Bestickt mit den Tränen des Mondes. So these 2 are Spin the Dawn and Unravel the Dusk. I don't know why they did these long-ass titles in German, but the books are still beautiful. But I've not read any of them for some reason, which I don't really get, but here they are. I am planning on not buying another book by her before I read these books, though. Oh, it's pretty stacked in here. Then we have Stolen by Emily Bold, which is also the first book in a series, I think. Then over here we have another book by Bianca Iusivoni, A Fate Darker Than Love, which is the first book in the Last Goddess duology. And then, let me put the candles away. This beautiful cart, and over here we have, so I'm trying to get the plant away, Im Schatten des Sonnenkönigs, so In the Shadow of the Sun. That's the original title by E.M. Castellan, which basically combines like history and fantasy, which I think is really cool. Then we have Das Flüstern der Magie by Laura Kneider, so The Whisper of Magic, if I would translate that. Oops. Plant is in here. Then we have A Whisper of Stars, the first book, Erwacht, 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 by Tammy Fisher, and I also DNF'd this after about 100 pages because it was sadly really boring to me and I did not enjoy it. And then we have book 1, 2, and I think book 4 or 5, I think book 5, of the, God, I always forget the name, but like the Shadowhunter series, so City of Bones, City of Ashes, and City of Lost Souls. Like, theoretically, I have read City of Bones, but it's been so long, and I have not read the rest of the series. So I will definitely reread it before I get to the rest, and I got this on a flea market, and they only had like book 1, 2, and 5, so that's why I have these old, not so beautiful covers, and also only 3 books. So let's move on to the second fantasy shelf. Over here, we have Crescent City, book 1 by Sarah J. Maas. It looks so beautiful, but it's also like so chunky. I don't know if I will ever get through it, but we'll see. Then we have Legendborn by Tracy Dion, Cemetery Boys by Aidan Thomas, The Darkening by Sonia Mara, Over here we have Shadow and Bone and Satan Storm by Leigh Bardugo, but story behind this is the German book Goldene Flamme. And I got this like 2 years ago or even longer. And then I was at a used bookstore in Amsterdam with my friends, and they had English books, mainly English books. I think only English books, to be honest. And I saw Siege and Storm, and I thought, oh, you have Shadow and Bone in English, so let's get this one. But I had it in German, so now we have this situation. And we have From Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout. Have not read this yet. We have first Lockwood and Co. book by Jonathan Strout. Lady Fortune by Chloe Gong, and honestly, this is so beautiful. Even if I end up like not liking this, I have to keep it just because of the cover. Then we have Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. So, das neunte Haus. Das neunte Haus. Das neunte Haus. And I did start reading this at one point because my best friend loves it, but I ended up not continuing just because I was not in the mood for the book at the moment. But at some point I'm gonna get to that. And then we have Four Houses of Oxford by Anna Zavas, which also is the first book in a duology, I think. And I heard that this is like kind of like Ninth House, but a little less dark, so I might end up starting that one before I get back to Ninth House. And then we have The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. Moonlight Touch by Jennifer Ellis Yaga. I hope that's how you pronounce her name. I don't know, to be honest. I'm kind of afraid of Moonlight Touch because I read Awakening by her and it was horrible. I barely made it through the book. The only reason I finished it is because it was pretty short, so. But that was more of like a sci-fi book because it's basically like Mother Nature getting back at you, kind of like that. It's more a world is going down type of book, and I hope Moonlight Touch might be a little better. Then we have Magie aus Gift und Silber. Magie aus Gift und Silber by Lisa Rosenbecker. This was in a book box I once got, and if I had translated it, it would be Magic from Poison and Silver. And then we have two more books on this shelf. This one is the first book in the Witcher series. I really liked the show. I watched it like 3 times already. The first few seasons. The latest season I only watched like 1 or 2 times, but yeah, I wanted to read the book, so this is the first book, and I'm not going to pronounce this man's name because I butcher names so heavily, so no thank you. Same goes for this name that I'm also not going to pronounce because I do not want to hurt your ears, but this is Flammwüste, and I found this at a used bookstore for €2.50, which is nothing, and it sounded kind of cool. It's basically about the storyteller who tells stories about dragons, but no one really thinks they're true, and then people talk about a dragon being seen out in the desert. So yeah, I don't know, have never heard anything about it, but it looked kind of cool. Moving on to fantasy shelf number 3, and as you can see, I have one big series in here, and it's the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas. And yeah, this is the entire series. I actually don't really love the German covers because why is she like blue? I don't get it. She's not blue. She's white and blonde, but why is everything like gray blue? Don't get it. Other than that, the covers actually look cool, but why is she blue? I never understood this. So I have the Assassin's Blade in the back here. I can't pull it out because of these books on top. But yeah, German it's Selena's Geschichte. And then I have book 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And I started off with book 1 last year. I think it was last year. And then I made my way through book 2. Then I went and read The Assassin's Blade. Then book 3, and now I'm currently on book 4, which is Queen of Shadows, I think, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm loving the series so far. Like, it's so entertaining. It's so, like, thrilling. I really love it. So, yeah, excited to see what's gonna happen. And then we have 4 books stacked on top of this. We have Kingdom of the Wicked by Carrie Maniscalco, Shatter Me by Tyre Maffei, Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard, and Dance of Thieves by Mary E. Pearson. And I have not read any of those books, but I'm really excited for them. And then I have this candle that was in the same book box as this book that I showed you. And then we have the last shelf over here that really has like actual books on it. And we're gonna start with young adult. Over here I have like my little Angie Thomas shrine. So I have The Hate You Give, which little backstory of me, like how I read books over the years. I read a lot as a kid, and then when I was 13, I slowly got back into reading, but I read like 2 books a year, like that year when I was like 13. And then I turned 14, and by the end of the year, so my birthday's in March, and then by the end of the year, in like September, I think, I started, September 2019, I started reading again, and The Hate You Give was one of the first books that I bought because I was on Bookstagram during that time and everybody recommended this, and it really is so great. It's so important. It's such a good book. This is the movie cover. I also own the movie. It's actually insane, and this led to me reading her other books over the years. So we have On the Come Up, Concrete Rose, and Blackout, and I also own Whiteout as an ebook. And I loved The Hate You Give. I loved On the Come Up even more, and then I read Concrete Rose and I loved it even more. It's about Star's father, so Star is the main character in The Hate You Give, and this is about when her dad was a teen, and it was so good. It tackles important issues, so racism and also toxic masculinity, which I really loved because I never read a book in which toxic masculinity was like a topic, and it was so good. And you also just have these great family and like friend constellations. I love the way she creates families and friend groups. They're so good. So I absolutely love this book. And then Blackout is by Danielle Clayton, Tiffany D. Jackson, Nick Stone, Angie Thomas, Ashley Woodfolk, and Nicola Yoon, and it's like 6 different like short stories, I guess, about a blackout in New York, I believe, so no electricity, and it's about black teenage characters, and some of them are also queer, so I really loved this. And I usually don't read like short stories, but this was so good, and I'm really excited for Whiteout and everything else that Angie Thomas is gonna write in the future. And then stacked on top of this, we have Für immer vielleicht, which is basically like the book that the movie Love, Rosie is based on. On top of that, the green one is Alles, Nichts und ganz viel dazwischen by Ava Reed. So everything, nothing, and a lot in between, I guess you could say, in English. And I've owned this since like 2019 and have not read it. This is the book, like the oldest unread book of mine, and I don't know why. On top of that, we have Her Royal Highness by Rachel Hawkins, which was a cute young adult love story between, she's like a common girl from the US and the Princess of Scotland, and it was actually really, it was cute. But I think I gave it 3 stars because it just wasn't anything special to me, but it was cute. Yeah, I would recommend it if you like cute young adult love stories. Then we have They Both Die at the End by Adam Silvera and The Summer I Turned Pretty by Jenny Han. And I have not read both of these books. Let's move on to the other part of the shelf. First up, we have The Way I Used to Be by Amber Smith, I think is her name. This is really stacked, so I can't really get the books out easily, but you see them here. And then we have When You Were Everything by Ashley Woodfolk, which is basically like a book about a best friend breakup. And I had a best friend breakup in my life that was really painful, so I have not read it yet because I don't want to be destroyed, but I will get to it. Then we have Cinderella is Dead by Kaylin Barron, and it's a beautiful cover. It sounds really great. I just have not read it yet. And then we have, okay, let me try and get this one out because it's really cute. And I will talk about this a little more. This is Boy Queen by George Lester, the German version, in seinen Farben. So, in all the colors, I guess. In all his colors, something like that. And this is basically about Robin, who wants to go to like an art school, but he can't get in there, and then kind of like his life falls apart. And then he gets into drag, and honestly, this was such a good book. I loved this. I ate it up. It was so cute. It was so cute. So amazing. I never read a book about drag, but it was so interesting to get into the world of that, and oh my god, I loved it. There are some like heavy scenes in there because Robin is gay and he's also getting into drag. He's putting makeup on and everything. And there are always some assholes out in the world, so if you can't handle like homophobic scenes, then you should not read this, or yeah, only read it when you are in a good place mentally, because it was kind of rough to get through that. But the rest of the book was just so cute and so wholesome and so amazing, and I would definitely recommend that to everyone. It was just overall a really good book, so definitely go ahead and check it out. And then over here, first of all, we have 2 mugs, and they're both Brooklyn Nine-Nine related. So this one, if you don't know what Brooklyn Nine-Nine is, it's essentially like a comedic police show about yeah, different characters. They're all very different, and this mug basically has like their icons, I guess, with things that are really like related to them. So this one's Terry, and Terry loves yogurt, so we have yogurt. Then we have Amy, who loves planning. Jake is like the funny, childish one. Rosa is badass, so she has an axe. With Captain Holt with the pride flag, and Bing Pod, which he likes to say. Then we have Boyle, who always says that washing someone's hair is the most intimate thing you can do, so he has shampoo. Then we have Gina, who is on her phone all the time, and we have Scully and Hitchcock, who are like the old, kind of weird, disgusting dudes, but they're really cute actually, and they have like a great friendship. So, and they love food, so this is why they have like a shared sandwich. And then we have another mug, which is basically you're the Scully to my Hitchcock, which my best friend gifted me because Scully and Hitchcock are besties, and they're kind of weird but cute. So yeah, I love these. Usually don't really have like any merch from people or shows, but I needed to get those. Okay, so let's move on to the young adult like mystery thriller department over here. First of all, we have Matching Night by Stefanie Hasse, and then also Secret Game by her, which is actually lying like this usually. And I read another book by Stefanie Hasse a while ago. I think it was called Pretty Dead, and it was actually pretty good. I gave it 4 stars, so I just bought these 2 other books by her, but I have not read them yet. And then we have Erebos and Erebos 2 by Ursula Poznanski. And this is actually kind of a funny story, because usually the books you read in school, you hate them. I have so many books I reread in school that I just did not like, but Erebos we read in like 8th grade, I think, in German class. And we analyzed the book, and it's also basically about a video game that takes over the students' lives. So we also talked about like the dangers of video games, and I actually really liked Erebos. I gave it like 4 stars. I reread it in 2019 or 2020, I'm not sure. And then I also got Erebos 2, which I think the first one came like out in 2011 or something, and this came out like in 2020 or something. So it was like 10 years later. So this time it's not a video game, it's basically like on your laptop, on your phone, and Erebos is controlling you again and like ruining your life. And it was really insane. It was kind of like a reunion of the characters, and we had some new fun characters, and I really liked it. Then we have the Magpie Society, book 1 and book 2, and this is actually by Zoella, if you know her. I never really watched her videos on YouTube, but yeah, fun fact, I didn't know that when I first got the books. So I read the first one, and it was interesting. The storyline itself was really good, but I just didn't find it that interesting. I thought it was kind of slow, and I think I ended up giving it like 3 stars or something, but I just took a long while to get through it, and so we'll see when I get to the second one. And I hate that they have 2 different white tones. This is from the same publishing company. I really don't know why you would do this, but my like book nerd heart is breaking every time I look at this. You can't really see it that much on camera, but like, what is that? I don't like it. And then we have The Naturals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, and I saw this on TikTok like several times, and people advertised it as Criminal Minds but young adult style. So I have not read this yet, but I'm currently watching Criminal Minds. I think I'm on season 9 maybe of Criminal Minds, and I really love it, so hopefully I will like The Naturals too. And then, oh, look at that. Another TikTok book, We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. I once tried to read this when I was like sick at home, but my brain was like not in the mood, and I heard that you don't understand anything until you get to the end. And I think it's just like 100 pages long, but I cannot get myself to read this book. Like, no thank you. It's probably gonna sit around here forever. Then we have The Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, the first book in the series. And then we have my Karen M. McManus shrine, I guess you could say. So I got One of Us is Lying first, and I read it, and I loved it, and gave it 5 stars. I know some people don't like the ending, but I was entertained the entire time, and I had fun, so I gave it 5 stars. And then I have One of Us is Next, which I've also read. Was it this year or 2023? I'm still talking as if it's 2023. So maybe it was that year or 2022, I'm not sure. But I read it, and it was great. Not as great as the first one, but I gave it 4 stars, so it was still really good. And then I also have One of Us is Back, which came out not too long ago, I think, and I have it as an ebook. So I wanted to do like an ebook collection in the future. So you're gonna see all the books I have then on my ebook reader. And yeah, but here we have You'll Be the Death of Me, and The Cousins by Karen McManus, but I have not read both of these. So yeah. And then down here we have my bookmarks. This is a book I need for uni. This is like a random graphic novel / comic about loving books that my dad got me. And this is basically a children's book that I loved as a kid, but my mom gave it away, and then she, like, we talked about this, and then she tried to find it, and they don't produce this anymore, but she found one secondhand, and got this for me, and we read it together, and it was really cute. And then over here I have like memory stuff. I have like notebooks. This is like the yearbook basically for my school, and then we have like friendship books, picture books, calendars with pictures, all that stuff. And now let's move on to the serving cart and the last few books that I have. So I have my currently reading and my e-reader lying on there. It's a Kindle that I got, I think was it 2019? I think I got it in 2019 for Christmas. And then this is Moving Mountains by Tammy Fisher, which I'm currently reading. And up here, so on this side and then on the other side and back there, I also have romance books. So these are mainly German authors in this row actually. So we have Begin Again, Trust Again, Feel Again, Hope Again, and Dream Again by Mona Kasten, which I read in 2020 or 2021. I think both years I went through this 5-book series, and it's about the same friend group but different couples, and I loved it. So this one I loved and finished in like 5 days, and then this one I listened to these as audiobooks, and then I got the physical copies, and this one, Trust Again, I listened to within 24 hours. And you have to keep in mind, this is like a 12-hour audiobook or something. So, yeah, it was really great. Trust Again is my absolute favorite. And then probably I'd say Begin Again, then Dream Again, then Hope Again, and then Feel Again. I would have to rank them. Next to that, we have my Sarah Sprintz books. So this one is Anywhere, the first book in the Dunbridge Academy series. I love this one. And then we have What If We Drown. When I said I love this one, I meant the cover. I have not read it. That was kind of like a little misunderstanding. And then What If We Drown, I did read, and this was heart-wrenching. Oh, that's what I wanted to say. Okay. Heart-wrenching. It was so sad. It was depressing, but it was so good. And then we also have What If We Stay, which I have not read. But these covers are so beautiful. Then we have Wenn Donner und Licht sich berühren, which has a completely different title. Behind the Bars is the original title by Brittany C. Sherry, and this one I listened to as an audiobook this year because I've also had this book since like the beginning of 2020 or something, and I wanted to get through it, but I'm not really in a romance mood right now anymore. So yeah, I listened to it as an audiobook, and it was pretty bad. I didn't like the characters. They were so unlikable. To me personally, there were so many cringy lines and everything, and I just could not deal with it. Yeah, I think I ended up giving like 2.5 stars or something in the end, but still, I would not recommend this to anybody. Oops, almost kicked this to the ground. I don't really like this. Then we have High Hopes, which is the first book in the Whitestone Hospital series by Ava Reed. we're gonna go to this side, which is more romance books. So we have All In and Full Tilt by Emma Scott. We have, in general, a few Emma Scott books here. I love these books. I read these in like 2020, and they were so good. I loved them. And then we have Never Doubt, which I think is actually, like, the original title is In Harmony, I think. Then we have The Light in Us. The original title for this one is Rush, and I really enjoyed this. It was really good back when I read it, and now I'm currently listening to the novella, which I think is like Endless Possibilities. That's what it's called. Yeah. I'm currently listening to that. And then we have, gonna get this out of here for a second. Be My Tomorrow. Actually don't know the original title for that one. Let's look at that. It's The Butterfly Project. Okay. Haven't I read this one yet. And then we have Bring Down the Stars and Light Up the Sky, which I have read. I really loved Bring Down the Stars. Bring Down the Stars. And then I also read Light Up the Sky, and it was okay. I didn't love it, but it was good. Then over here we have Don't Love Me by Lena Kiefer. And I don't know what they did with the cover, but this is so ugly. I could really do better things with Canva. But I have not read this yet. And yeah, this is the illustration card for it, though, which looks really beautiful. And then we have The Secret Book Club by Alyssa K. Adams, which originally is called The Bromance Book Club, I believe. And this is the music of what happens. I'm not sure if this actually like qualifies as like new adult romance, but it looks really cute. So, and it has the same height, kind of. So I wanted to have it in here. And then we have another romance department. This is Hate Is All I Feel by Siobhan Davis. The one and only dark romance book I own. And I'm just looking at this. The original title is Cruel Intentions. Have not read this yet because I'm scared of dark romance, but it's here, so yeah. And then here we have Sinking Ships and Hiding Hurricanes, and next to this usually Moving Mountains is lying in here, but I'm currently reading that, so it's on top here. And I love these books. It's a series, the Fletcher University series, and it's 5 books. It was originally only supposed to be 3 books. Burning Bridges is the first one. I have read it, but I thought it was okay, so I didn't keep the copy. And then we have Sinking Ships and Hiding Hurricanes. I loved these. They're so good. And then comes Moving Mountains, and then there's a 5th book, Crushing Colors. And then here we have my... I'm sorry, I just got a notification telling me that they couldn't deliver my package, but I'm literally home right now. This is so annoying. Okay, yeah, then we have my Colleen Hoover collection, Layla, Ugly Love, and It Ends With Us. I liked some of her books when I was younger, but then I read Too Late and it was horrible, and now I heard such bad things about the other books that I'm really not that interested anymore. And It Ends With Us, I tried reading this, but I made it through like 50 pages before I just could not take the cringe anymore. I did not like it. Next up, we have 2 books by Sophie Bichon. This is Wir sind das Feuer, so We Are the Fire, and Ich leuchte mit den Wolken. And then over here we have One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston, and The Cheat Sheet by, who is it? Sarah Adams, right. So I haven't read all of these, but yeah. And then Down here, this is for my plants, just to know where else to put it. And this is a really insane copy of Pride and Prejudice. It's like actually beautiful. And we also have, I'm trying to find something in here, like invitations and stuff in here. And yeah, I haven't read this yet, but it looks so cool. And then over here we have the last department of my books. I have Dial A for Aunties and Four Aunties and a Wedding by Jessie Sutanto. Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. And it's actually beautiful, but I haven't read it yet. Then we have like a biography, I guess you could say, and it's In den Iran zu Fuß ohne Pass. It's basically about him finding out that his mom is alive, even though he thought she was dead for the longest time. And he finds out that his dad basically like kidnapped him and brought him to Germany and told him his mom was dead the entire time, even though she wasn't. So the title translated is Into Iran by Foot Without a Passport. And that's basically what it is. He's trying to find his mom in Iran. Then we have Nach der Flut das Feuer by James Baldwin. So The Fire Next Time, which is basically 2 essays about him growing up as a black man. And it was really good. And very interesting. Then we have Unsichtbare Frauen, so the English one I think is just Invisible Women. And this is a book about how the system basically is not good for women, how the world is basically built for men in technology, medicine, work, all of that. And I'm really excited for it. And then the next 2 are also Christmas presents. I have I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy, and I absolutely loved iCarly, and I also loved Sam and Cat, so I'm excited to get to know more about her, and this one's supposed to be really good. And then we have, whoops, I'm gonna get this out of here. White Tears, Brown Scars, How White Feminism Betrays Women of Color by Ruby Hamat, or Ahmad, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but I'm learning on the pronouncing games thing. Pronouncing games? But I'm trying to learn how to pronounce names more properly. And I'm getting better, but sometimes it's like my brain is just empty. And yeah, this is basically what it says on the cover, How White Feminism Betrays Women of Color. Really excited for that one. And then the last 2 books I had to read for German class. This is Fabian, Die Geschichte eines Moralisten by Erich Kästner. And it's basically like about the 1920s and a guy in Germany. I don't really know how to explain it. It was okay, I guess. And then this is Die Räuber by Friedrich Schiller, which is like a very popular German author. And the plot itself was actually good, but this is in the 18th century version of German, so it was really hard to read. But yeah, these 2 books were really just for German class, but I still have them because it makes me look intellectual. No, I'm just kidding. I just don't want to throw these away yet. I don't know. They look kind of nice in here, so. That was my bookshelf tour. I'm really glad I finally got to film this, and I hope you enjoyed this video and enjoyed the books. If you have read some of them and want to share your thoughts, please do so. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed. Have a good night, day, morning, whatever, and I hope I see you the next time.